Sipple says we're live.
Wow. What a day.
What a day. Yeah, first midweek live video in quite a while. This year, I think it's the first one this year for sure.
I got to stay in the camera.
Stay in the camera.
Hey, it's a big day though. I mean,
yeah,
it's I don't like to overstate things, but it's kind of a historically big day for the program.
Yeah. I called regardless of agree, disagree, whatever. I mean, huge changes today, which obviously maybe we'll just start there, recap, and then I'll get your thoughts. And then obviously we've already got a ton of people in the comments, so we'll get to those too, Sipple. Earlier today, Nebraska, Trev Alberts, Nebraska's athletic director, announced that Scott Frost is coming back for 2022 under a restructured contract. The details are that Frost is taking $1 million hire him after next year. It would have been 15 million. Now it's 7.5. And then obviously the second part of that is that not long after that restructure and decision was announced, we learned that Scott has fired 4 assistant coaches and essentially most of his offensive staff. Offensive coordinator Matt Lubick, quarterbacks coach Mario Verduzco, the offensive line coach Greg Austin, and the running backs coach and recruiting coordinator Ryan Held. So, I mean, outside of Sean Beckton, they are fully starting over on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, it's no pressure.
Right.
I mean, you have 2 games remaining, but the pressure to which I allude is you got to get it ready for next year.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's going to be quite an extensive off season for Frost and it's going to be a new role for Scott.
It is, yeah,
because it appears that he will pull back as the leader of the offense and be more of the leader of the program, CEO type. We met with Trev Alberts today.
We did, yeah.
Not with Scott, but with Trev Alberts for a lengthy interview, Journal Star, World Herald reporters. And Trev, laid out, they've been talking on Sundays for some time.
Right.
And part of the plan was Frost being more of a CEO now.
Yeah. So there's so much, and there'll be fallout obviously for days. Bunch of them. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in terms of the additions that Scott makes to his staff. I mean, One of the things Trev Albert said today is, college football is just a big network. And he said Scott will probably expand his network a little bit, and that's a good thing. And so it's going to be very interesting. I mean, I think it's pretty clear, as you said, it looks like he's going to be looking for an offensive coordinator who's a play caller. And then at the same time, there's a lot of different ways this could go. There's 4 openings on staff. You could just replace the 4 coordinator and then mix up the roles on offense. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways that could go, and obviously there's no way to tell exactly what that's going to look like until they start making hires. Mm-hmm. But man, I mean, interesting days ahead. And then not only that, but they got to try to go beat Wisconsin in 12 days in Madison.
Yeah, and then of course wrap up with Iowa. Now, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know how Scott will juggle this. And I'm asking you now, would he start the hiring process while the season's
100%? I mean, I think you're at least looking at people. I mean, there's programs out there that have already hired head coaches. Texas Tech introduced a new head coach today, who is the associate head coach at Baylor, who still has games to play this year. And especially, Simple, I think it's interesting. And I don't know, you could throw out any name you want, but there are coaches. I mean, let's just say it for what it is. I mean, there's a couple of coaches at LSU who have ties to Nebraska. There's coaches who were fired from the University of Florida today, assistants. Their defensive coordinator, which doesn't really apply here, and also their offensive line coach. And I'm not saying that which does apply. keep an eye on Florida's offensive line coach. But what I am saying is there's already a number of assistants now, 4 from Nebraska out there who already know they're out of work. You're not even necessarily talking about dealing with guys that are in the midst of having jobs right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guys at LSU do, but they know that Orgeron's out at the end of the year.
Yeah, Ed Orgeron's out. And the guys you're talking about are their offensive coordinator, Jake Peets. And I've been told that Nebraska's talked to him. Now, I don't know how far to what extent.
Right.
But it fits with what we're hearing. If they're going to bring Jake Peets as their offensive coordinator, if Jake Peets was going to come to Nebraska, it would be as offensive coordinator.
Right.
He's not going to come as quarterbacks coach.
Right.
He's at the point of his career where he would no longer do that. He's making $1 million a year at LSU calling plays. And then the other guy is Mickey Joseph, who would fit here well as a receivers coach.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Parker, I would say he was considered the last time around when they hired Matt Lubick.
Right. Yeah. There was, and again, at that point, there was also all sorts of different combinations for how do things work. I mean, the one thing that's interesting is in this conversation about Scott sort of perhaps having a more global CEO role going forward, two things that would not square would be that and then him also coaching quarterbacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wouldn't.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Comment? Should we go to the comments?
Yeah.
Should we wade into the comments?
Yeah, we can wade.
Is it unusual for college teams to have a quarterbacks coach? Pardon my ignorance. Well, Eric, every college team has somebody that coaches quarterbacks. Not every schools do it differently, much like they do many positions. Some places, the head coach coaches quarterbacks. If it's an offensive mind, like Ryan Day, for example, coaches quarterbacks at Ohio State. Sometimes the offensive coordinator is the quarterback's coach. If the offensive coordinator has a position group, sometimes it's quarterbacks. Sometimes, like, Frost was obviously successful at Central Florida with Troy Walters as his OC, and Troy coached receivers. So, and that's what Matt Lubick was doing until today here. So that can go a lot of different ways. Let's see. Not used to starting without Sipple's countdown. Yeah, Eric. Yeah, strange times indeed. Will the fired coaches be working the last 2 games? Kyle, no. Effective immediately. They're out today. So that sort of gets in. I mean, I think Trev didn't talk about this specifically today, and we think we'll hear from Scott Frost at some point this week, so he may. It lines up pretty naturally. Now, you don't want to, we'll see what happens, but I do think that the sort of interim coaching positions, it lines up pretty naturally. I mean, first of all, Frost is going to call the plays for the last 2 games. That's probably pretty clear. And then Ron Brown is on staff as a senior offensive analyst. He's obviously coached running backs in his career.
He's helped Ryan Held.
Yeah, and that's sort of been, he and Ryan Held were traveled together on the Big Red Blitz this summer. Right. And I mean, that's a natural fit. And then they've also got analysts at all those other positions.
Who are we talking about?
Steve Cooper is the quality control coach who's worked with Mario Verduzco and Nebraska's quarterbacks ever since the staff has been here. And Frank Verducci and Steve DeMeo, similar with the offensive line. So you would think that those probably just slot in pretty naturally. There's not, Keenan Lowe is a analyst and works with receivers. He's super young. Receivers, I mean, Sean Beckton is still on staff, the tight ends coach. Maybe they fold in with him. Maybe Keenan Lowe has some of those duties. So, we'll see how that works.
Parker, the one thing that people are probably wondering is, did we expect this magnitude of change on offense?
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, I think it was sort of first things first. I mean, I think you wondered first if Scott would be back.
Right.
And then after that, right. I can't sit here and tell you that I thought for sure that 4 guys out of the 5 assistants on offense would have been fired.
Yeah.
But there was no way that there wasn't going to be any movement.
Right. Now, I know. But I'm making the distinction in my mind. I did not think there'd be 4. No,
yeah, I can't say I thought before today that it would be that substantial.
Well, yeah, I didn't know, nor did I think there would. Offensive line. I thought they had to. You know what? And I I guess I thought Mario could be in peril, but that was it. That's what I thought. I thought Held might be, and I'm really surprised about Lubick.
Yeah.
Except in a revamped
that
situation.
To me, it's as clear an indicator as anything that they're going to start essentially from scratch on offense, and that it's not necessarily going forward going to look like the Scott Frost, Chip Kelly offense.
Yeah.
Like that familiarity with this system.
Mm-hmm. God, that's a good point. Yeah, it could look a lot different.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott has an expertise in a certain system, and I just wonder how much he would veer away from that.
Well, there's a lot of, it's interesting. And some of it gets to being above my head in terms of schematics. As someone in here asked if the schematics and philosophy will stay the same. I mean, I think the philosophy in the Big Ten is always going to be based in running the ball. And Nebraska hasn't done that consistently enough, even though their numbers running the ball have been good. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of, Ryan Day's version of the spread is not exactly the same as Scott Frost. Is not exactly the same as Jamie Chadwell at Coastal Carolina or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, the one thing is Scott's a smart offensive mind schematically. There's a lot of other smart people out there in terms of offensive football, and it'll be interesting to see sort of what where they go with it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'll just say though, one of the things that Scott's really adamant about, and he always has been, and I'd be really surprised if it changed, is athleticism at quarterback. Like he's never been a guy. He's talked a lot about it, about how much he thinks it unlocks to have a quarterback that can at least do some stuff running the ball.
Right.
So I would think if he was making a list, I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe he'd be interested in a guy who wants to put a 6'7" statue back there, but
I doubt it.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Sip's got to get to bed. Well, Jack, it turned into a pretty long day around here. Nick says, hate to see people fired in any profession. This one was coming. Can't get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars and underperform at your job. Yeah, Nick, I mean, it was coming, but you do hate to see it. I mean, I don't know. I'm not speaking for Sybil. I enjoyed covering all four of those guys. As Trev said today, it's totally true. They all have families. They seem like good humans. We don't get to be around them a ton in our line of work, but yeah, it sucks. You never like seeing people get fired.
It's a brutal business, and it's not a given that all these guys land. I've known plenty of coaches who didn't or are out of the business. So yeah, this is brutal. This is a tough day for those guys and their families. But they know what they're getting into.
Mike has a good question, and one we won't know the full answer to for quite a while. But he says, how many players transfer now? One has to assume there might be some significant player turnover. Yeah, Mike. I mean, there is every year. First of all, second of all, I'll be curious about that. I mean, there's a ton of young players on the roster. A lot of them are from the region. Many of them are from here. Certainly. We came to Memorial Stadium this afternoon to meet with Trev Alberts, and we saw some offensive linemen leaving the building as we were walking in. It was not pretty, obviously.
No, it was not. The look on their faces was not pretty.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing to reconcile, obviously, when your position coach gets fired. So, yeah, we'll see. It's unclear at this point. There's always guys that leave and all that, and whether that's a lot more substantial this year or not, I don't know. We'll find out.
I don't know where that goes.
Yeah.
If you have a full-time special teams coordinator, I don't know. Now, I would say the way special teams are playing now, I know people don't necessarily agree with this. I think Dawson's done a good job. Dawson and Bill Bush have done a good job with that. Scott alluded to it after the game Saturday and said we're sound.
Right.
It's just the specialists have let them down.
So there's a couple ways that could go. I mean, you could 100% spitballing. I mean, if Sean Beckton coached tight ends and receivers, now you've created a passing game coordinator. Then you could hire an O-line coach, a coordinator who's the quarterback's coach, and you'd have one full-time spot left over. Maybe that's special teams, or maybe, some head coaches that don't have a specific position take on special teams. That would be another, Frost could take on special teams himself. So.
I don't think that's the vision that Trev had.
Yeah, a lot of questions about the scheme of the offense. Are we going to run a different offense going into the Wisconsin game now, Jared? I'd be surprised by that. Same brain trust in place at least through the end of this year. Not the guys that got fired today, obviously, but just in terms of like Scott, the guys who will fill in as the position coaches, and Sean Backton. Scott gets a year, but what staff can he put together to make a big difference in that short of time? This seems like a Hail Mary versus long term.
Trev kind of answered that question. I mean, he said, there'll be a lot of coaches available, a lot of good coaches available. There's always going to be a lot of movement. He had a pretty good answer to that. And it was roughly what I said. All that said, it does feel a little bit daunting to me.
It does.
Making a huge change on one side of the ball while you're, 15-27, need to win next year.
Yep.
Daunting.
I asked
daunting.
I asked Trev both of those two questions today. Well, more than two, but two of the questions I asked were, A, what would you tell an assistant coach who was skeptical about coming here given the situation? And he said, I don't think there's a coaching position out there in college football anymore where there's not risk,
right?
Where you're just walking into a situation that has long-term stability. And the other thing is, I asked him if these moves come with a grace period and understanding that it's going to take some time.
And he said, daunting.
Yeah.
For Scott.
Yeah. Do you think Frost tries to go with a guy like Jeff Grimes at Baylor or leans more heavily into the option? That's a good question to get more out of an athlete like Smothers. First of all, Sipple can attest to this. If you're talking about coaches that I have really enjoyed like following a little bit, Jeff Grimes for sure one of them.
Yeah.
So, sign me up for that. Although he's got a pretty good gig and he's got a lot of autonomy. And he's at a program on the rise under Dave Aranda at Baylor. But, we'll see. I think this is nothing against Smothers or Harburg or any quarterback that's in the portal or whatever. But I think you just identify the best possible candidate you can. And then yeah. Vince throws out Tom Herman being a realistic option. Is Tom Herman a realistic option? The other name you hear a lot, obviously, when you're talking about Frost, is, oh gosh, now I'm going to blank.
Say that again now.
The other guy you hear a lot in terms of Frost, and offensive coordinator is
Tom Herman.
Yeah, not Tom Herman. Vince was asking about Tom Herman, but the coach at Oregon, the head coach that he was the coordinator for.
You've got me blanked out now. He's got black hair.
Helfrich, Mark Helfrich. There we go.
Yeah. Help with black hair.
Yeah, it did. That did help. Well, that wouldn't be that would not be changing schematically probably much of what they do. Not impossible, but I suppose we'll see. Scott asked, can we hire Frank Solich as the offensive coordinator? Don't think that's likely to happen.
Probably not.
How much culpability does Frost have for playing an injured quarterback? Chris asks.
I don't think any. Adrian says he's been healthy enough to play.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's kind of Adrian's call. There's more people involved in that decision than Frost and Adrian.
And frankly, it's not actually the decision on is Adrian cleared to play or not probably doesn't rest with Scott at all. Normally that's a doctor that says you can or you can't, and then the player makes a decision.
There's a medical staff that that weighs in heavily on the decision.
Brian says Amon Green for the next running back coach.
That's not beyond the realm of possibility. I could see that. I mean, Amon would want to do it.
Right. Michael also throws in Ron Brown, who probably will be the interim running backs coach.
Yeah, I mean, Ron Brown, if he wanted to do it, he was an excellent running backs coach here.
Ray has a good question, which sort of gets at all of this. Was he?
Yeah.
He coached here, huh?
Yeah.
Ray asked, does a new offensive coordinator get to pick his offensive line coach? Yeah, Ray, that's a great question. I mean, I think it probably remains to be seen.
That's a
but
good question.
If you had a veteran, if you were courting a veteran offensive that's a candidate, a really good candidate, would have some say in who he brings along.
Oh, doesn't it make? I mean, wouldn't it? I mean, that makes me wonder. That's a good question. I mean, if I were Frost, I would. It would be appealing to me to go to an OC who said, "Okay, I'll do it, but I want this staff."
It also might be appealing to an offensive coordinator candidate who's walking into a tough situation
to have his
to
guys.
be able to say, "I'll do this, but I want."
Yeah, he has a certain amount of leverage.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We need someone that can get us some inroads in the Texas recruiting base, Jason says. You know what's interesting about that? On Saturday, Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt on the broadcast started talking. Was get back into Texas and recruit it well.
That's interesting.
So, I mean, and it just goes to show, I mean, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. Like, Scott didn't wake up this morning and go, you know what I'm doing? I'm firing 4 guys.
No.
So, I mean, then you hear someone say something about what Frost told him in a production meeting. It just, sort of, I didn't think that was a coincidence.
Nope.
Jamie Chadwell and his OL coach, please. Yeah, John, that would take hiring a head coach, which Nebraska is not doing currently. Mm-hmm. Having an identity on offense will be important always, Sam. Larry asked about Mickey Joseph. Yeah, we got so many comments here. We're way behind. So, yeah, all kinds of names and stuff. Dedicated special teams coach, we talked to that. Do you think part of restructuring was to help pay the coordinators' salaries? Oh, that's possible. That's possible. Do you think what now? Do you think the $5 million salary pool, which is in Scott's contract for assistants, is still in play? And he said it is, but that in part because of the flexibility that they've got with the restructure, they're going to sort of talk about that. So I think they've got the cash to go pay big money for coaches if they need to. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I like the move. This is a T. Poley from Fremont on YouTube. I love the move, but I'm worried about the quarterback position next year. I think it's time to move away from Adrian, but I'm really hesitant to think that Smothers, Harburg, or Torres can win 8 games next year.
Torres has got a bad knee right now.
Yeah, he just had surgery, I think.
Yeah. The portal is critical in this discussion. I mean, I think it's the answer is what I think. I think you got to go in the portal. If Adrian's not here,
right?
Adrian Martinez.
I wonder too. I mean, this is something that maybe we'll have the chance to ask.
Very complicated.
Yeah, but I mean, with Adrian, I don't know. He's said that he hasn't thought about don't come back. He's obviously been playing through a lot this year. You got to wonder if his thought process. I mean, there's every possibility that it changed one way or the other today. His position coach got fired. So. Yep. Is $2.7 million enough to get the right coaches here? Well, we'll find out.
Hey, Parker, that whole discussion, this discussion is fascinating.
Yeah.
You could be looking at a new you're looking at a new offensive staff, new offensive coordinator, and I think you could be looking at a new quarterback, a brand new to the system.
Yeah, it could well be. Yeah.
Now that's a lot to get going in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Part of the reason why you'd expect all of this to move relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Got to think most of the salary pool goes to the OC, right? It would make sense to take, say, 900,000 for 3 positions: receiver, special teams, running back, and go get a guy for $1 million for OCOL. Yeah, OCOL. See, that's you go down to Baylor and see what budget. No. Sorry, we can't get to nearly everybody here.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, there's 600 people.
Yeah. I think we have to get younger quarterbacks in games to get some experience. Talking about like the next couple of games. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean,
okay, here's the deal with that. Trev talked about it today. You're in the Big Ten.
Yeah, you got to try to go win.
Well, yeah, and you're not taking big leads in games,
right?
And hardly anybody is, not named Ohio State. I mean, who's blowing out teams? Well, Wisconsin did. Nebraska did once, but I'm talking about
not
regularly.
Yeah.
It's hard. The days of being able to throw a bunch of guys in at the end of games, I don't know if you're going to see those ever again in Nebraska.
One thing, there's a lot of stuff that's sort of just like, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of fallout. There's a lot of consequences and secondary consequences and all that. One thing to just keep in mind, Smothers has played in 4 games. So if he plays again this year, he loses his red shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe he thinks a little bit differently about that, preserving that year today than he did yesterday. Maybe we'll see.
Albert's emphasized the degree of difficulty in the Big Ten as one of the reasons to move Frost into more of a CEO role.
Yeah.
I mean, he just says you're matching with, Trev says you're matching wits with the very best coaches in the land.
Yep.
And you have to be sharp in all areas. And if you're, if you're concentrated so much having the entire program be as sharp as it needs to be.
Yeah. Someone asked about Dan Jackson at Northern Illinois. Yeah, Dan's an Omaha guy. I think he's on the defensive side, maybe special teams.
Special teams could be.
But yeah, all that. I mean, there's a ton of names out there. Obviously, there's a ton of potential candidates and all of that. Chuck says, "Hey, Parker and Sip, thanks for doing this." You're welcome, Chuck. Thanks for being here.
Chuck, that's nice of you.
Whose idea was it, Trev or Frost? Well, Trev sort of drew a line on that today. He and Scott have been talking about this for a while, and Trev thought it was really important. He told us today, and you can read this at journalstar.com/Huskers. He thought it was really important. He called Frost's contract status a bad business deal for the school. Frost was owed $20 million if he was fired after this year. And Trev complimented him for his willingness to take a restructured contract. I'm not sure Scott had like a lot of choice in that if he wanted to keep the job. But then Trev said also 100% Frost decision on the assistant coaches that got fired. We've been a little iffy with the video. I was just blacked out a couple times. Hopefully it looks good on the replay too. Let's see. William rattled off like a bunch of guys that have coached here before. NFL head coach, probably not taking an OC job in college, but Jeff, we went through the candidates to sort of fill in the interim. Let's see here, a couple more and then we'll get out of here. Bring back Tim Beck. Yeah. Brian Anderson.
I'll tell you what, you could do a lot worse than Tim Beck. I mean, he was part of a 9 and 10 win staffs here. I mean, he knew what he was doing. They ain't bringing it back though.
Give Frost 2 years, 1 to install it and 1 to tune it. Results in 20. That actually be 24 if you're giving him 2 more years. I'm shocked by the firings. I think Frost has been toying with ideas of more power run, but does he have the players to make that happen? Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, one of the things, simple as we've sort of batted this around over the past couple of weeks, one of the things that you've said about the running back position is that they're all young. Mm-hmm. Same is mostly true of the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Not quite to the extent, but I mean, they're playing 2 tackles that are technically freshmen, a sophomore at guard and at center actually. I mean, there's a lot of material raw material to work with on the roster. That's my view of it.
I do. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. You look on the defense, there's a lot to work with on that side of the ball.
Yeah.
Not saying there's not on offense. I think the defense holds more promise, but the offense has a lot of young players.
There's a lot of calls in here for the Army offensive coordinator. Just go full on into the option.
God, look at all these questions.
I know. Yeah, we're still.
What jail are you broadcasting from?
The Gulag.
God, it does look like.
Yeah, it's a little. Well, it's just dark.
Yeah.
Let's see. Dominic Raiola, line coach, Jeff Williams says.
Oh, that'd be good. Now, here's the thing. While you're scrolling through this, you know what, Parker? This is important. This has happened before, a revamped staff, and it worked.
Yeah.
When Frank made the moves, Frank Solich he revamped his staff largely in 2002. Brought in 5 new assistants, 6 new assistants, off of a 9-3 roster, and then went 10-3 the next year with those guys. Now they all got cleaned out afterward.
Can you imagine? Just try to imagine that now, 10-3.
Yeah, but it worked. I mean,
Right.
They made it work.
Yeah.
So it can happen. I'll have to revisit that. Maybe that's the column for.
Yeah. Chuck's got good perspective on this. He said Scott just gave up about $10 million today to keep his job. Yeah, he did. He did. Buyout would have been 20.4 if they fired him on Saturday after the Iowa game. And now if he gets fired after next year, he's going to make $4 million. And then, 7.5. His buyout after the 22 season dropped $7.5 million with the restructured contract. So he did. He gave up a lot to keep his job. Adam Carroll. I've seen Searles, Carricker, Damon Benning. Sipple, you want to coach receivers?
Nope.
All right.
I like my job security.
Yeah, you're in the most stable business of all, newspapers.
Well, it's 31 years. That's pretty
true. It's true.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Here's the last one. Parker and Sip, I'm disappointed with the running back by committee concept. What are your thoughts?
Well, Frost would prefer. Here's my thought. Frost said it more than once in August and in July that he would prefer to have a bell cow back. Yeah. When it became pretty clear that they didn't have that, then he softened that. But yeah, he would like to have that. I think everybody would.
Yep.
If you have Adrian Peterson, that's great. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. It's working pretty well at Wisconsin with 2 right now. Is it Braylon Allen?
Yeah.
And Ches Malusi.
Yeah.
Those guys are pretty good 1-2. I think that if it'd be great to have Amir Abdullah here and him carry the load, but it doesn't always work that way.
Bradley says USC special teams coach. Well, that staff is on the way out, and I believe USC special teams coordinator is Sean Snyder.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of candidates out there, that's for sure. All right, that's all. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. There's so many of you. Thank you for watching, obviously, important day. You can read about all of this at journalstar.com/Huskers. If you haven't subscribed to Husker Extra, that's all of our stuff and all the World Heralds too, plus some exclusive content like Sipple with the Sip and Sam Showdown. New episode coming on Tuesday. Obviously, will be a must listen. Consider doing that. As you can tell, it's going to be a really busy and really critical weeks and months ahead for the program. So we'll have you covered from all angles there and obviously on the Journal Star's website. So thank you very much, everybody, for stopping by, checking in, for all of the interaction. And we will talk to you soon. We'll probably hear from Scott Frost later this week. We're not quite sure when that's going to happen, but keep it tuned to journalstar.com/Huskers for all the latest. And thanks for watching.